Hello, good morning, everyone. How y'all have been doing? This has been the second month of 2023. So, we have come across the January month. So, it has been a very short period of time. I guess many of you have felt that this January has been like kind of like very fast month. So, now we are entering to the February month. This we are in the first week of 2023 of February. So this month most revolves about relationship, and how do we see relationship, because this month revolves in the Valentine's Day. I think pretty much most of y'all are very excited about that. So today our topics is also related to Valentine's Day, because we're going to talk about communication and the relationship, things like that. Without further ado, I would like to speak about this effective communication way to enhance your relationship. All right, so I think pretty much all of us in our daily life, we have been communicating throughout our life, from the day, when we have any types of relationship and all that. So why do you, okay, is there any day in your life you have stayed without communicating? um I don't think so, right? I think everybody have been communicating very we does communicate every day. Okay, when I say communicating means, it does not mean like you need to talk to someone. It not necessary in that way. Communication, it can be also in terms of the way you dress up, the way you express your emotion. Okay, I will talk further about all that thing in a further coming slides. All right, so definitely we don't have a day that we stay without communicating. All right, how do you address your loved ones? Okay, this is a form of communication as well. It is the understanding and the interaction between you and your partners. Okay, this relationship about I'm talking about, this communicating here is more into romantic partners. So these are the examples which I have seen people, like usually communicate. They address their loved ones. All right. So, a good communication is the bridge between confusion and clarity. So, when you give the best communication, you can lead to have a happy and healthy relationship. It will reduce a lot of confusion, and it will lead to a lot of clarity. Okay, what is communication? Actually, people, we have different kind of thoughts, and views, opinion about communication. You can just put it over in the chat box. All right. What do you feel about communication, and what is communication for you? So the most important effective important point, important why we have to communicate is to share our feelings, to put our feelings into, let them know how they feels and all that. Obviously, to share our opinions about thoughts, in order to make any decision and all that, and also to make sure put our expectation and what we are looking into in that particular relationship. So apart from that, communication is also needed in order to have a happy and healthy relationship. The most important and prominent factors why communication is important in any type of relationship. Okay, I'm not talking about relationship which means romantic relationship. Obviously, most of your students definitely will be very focused much on romantic relationship. But what am I going to talk about is like any type of relationship, the relationship you have with your friend, with your parents, with your neighbors, any with your colleagues, any type of relationship. Communication is a fundamental needs. Okay, so the most why we need to communicate clearly is in order to get to know them very clear. I mean, get to know each other. Apart from that, avoid any kind of misunderstanding, and it also sets a clear expectation. Apart from that, communication also is a better in terms of conflict resolution, right? Mhm. Okay, communication. Okay, this is a very defined definition, which is formally the about communication. Communication is a process by which information is exchanged between individuals through a common system of symbol, signs, and behavior. So that's why earlier I did mention saying communication does not only revolve what we talk. It also with this, the body language, the way we dress, the way we how we treat them, behavior and all that is also involved in communication. All right, so this is pretty much a bit smaller. Sorry on that. All right. Okay, communication is the contact on the text of cave walls. So this is like back then in ancient times, those drawings on the walls, and the cave walls. It shows how people have communicated. Your hairstyle is a communication. Your clothing, sometimes distance also does makes, gives a indicate of communication. Silence is a communication. Communication is laughing. Communication is sometimes to write. Sometimes the billboard advertisement boards and all that is also known as communication. Communication is about everything. It's a necessity arising from the existence of a man. The picture drawn on the wall of cave, the fumes of Indian burns by burning fire, the African native primitive methods, all that is a form of communication. All right, that's why we have this agenda, what we are supposed to dress when you go for a funeral, what you are supposed to wear when you're interviews. So it's a form of communication. All right, why communication is important? Effective communication helps us better understand a person or situation and enables us to resolve differences and build trust. Okay, it will help us to understand the person in front of us, obviously to understand the situation and enable us to trust, resolve the differences. Because, for example, when you have a friend or partner in front of you, when you're communicating, you might have indifferences of opinion. So when you communicate in a proper way, in a clear way, I think it will help to resolve the indifferences. Okay, no two people ever communicate perfectly. However, the more clearly we communicate, the greater is our ability to trust. So that they say that there is no such thing as a perfect communication, but obviously, the more clearer, easier, uh, uh, clarity words that we use, I think that will be easier for the person opposite of us, and it will help to build a, a stronger ability to build a trust. All right, so there are these main three important goals of communication is to inform, persuade and build relationship. So I think basically the inform is usually letting them know that what are you up to, what is your opinion and all that. This when they talk about this inform is more revolves on like sending emails, this kind is informing them, putting up a notice. So all that is does falls in communication. Persuade is usually in terms of making decision making, concise of persuade, because when you want to make a decision, you want to make sure those who are together with you agrees with your opinion and all that. So obviously the last one is build a relationship. So in order to have a healthy and happy relationship, communication is very utmost. Okay, effective communication. The ability to effectively communicate with others in is one of the most important tools for professional and personal success. Yes, effective communication can help you to influence others. Your capacity to communicate is often seen as an indicator in your ability and your intelligence. Apart from all those things, communication also built in active listening that improves lines of communication to be aware of your own communication barrier. Okay, when we talk about the communication barrier, it more revolves on when you communicate to someone, you should know what are the things that you feel it's a bit difficult for you to communicate. You have to make sure your partner in front of you understand what are the difficulties you have to face, so so that that communication ended up in a very smooth way. Apart from that, yeah, earlier I did mention saying that to improve email ethics and learn the do's and don'ts of communicating with professor, advisor and etc. So that is about revolve under the notice of to inform. Why do we communicate? To inform. Different strategies that improve how we respond to others. All right. Okay. So these are the three important elements of personal communication. Sorry, the writing is too small. All right. So the 55% is the words that we choose to use. Oh, sorry. 55% is the body language. The 7% is the word that we choose to use, and the 38% falls on the tone. So people always think that it's just a matter of communication. You just let them know what you know. It's very important to the way you portray the message, the way you deliver the message is very important, especially your body language when you say thank you, when you're happy about them, when you're wishing them, when you're complimenting someone. The way your body language, your tone especially, it shows. When you say thank you and with a bright smile, very very open arms and all that, that shows that you're really happy for them, you're really appreciating whatever they have done to you. So that's what revolves in body language. Okay, if words disagree with the tone of voice and non-verbal behavior, people tend to believe the tonality and non-verbal behavior. See, when even you say I like you, for example, but your tones and your behavior doesn't match with what you say, then people definitely goes with your tone and your behavior rather than agree, look into your words. That's why people, we also have this proverb knows as a action speaks louder than word, right? So that's pretty much involves on this as well. Okay, we instinctively recognize what body language is telling us. Yeah, a person's body language is literally is communicating with us. It literally knows how, whether the person is interested in the communication that we are having, whether the person is having fun talking to us. The body language tells so many things. You just need to able to identify what is actually telling us, right? So, listening, okay, the most fundamental important key in communication is listening. Listening is an art because nowadays we tend to, see very less people listen. Even for example, how many of you have like randomly watch a YouTube video? You literally sit down calmly and listen to what the person has. No, we don't. Usually, we don't do that. Okay, we always try to express our opinion. That is good as well, expressing your opinion, but it also need to be very balanced, that you need to be and hear for someone to be to be a good listener. So listening is a key to all effective communication. Without the ability to listen effectively, messages are easily misunderstood. As a result, communication breakdowns and the sender of the message can easily become frustrated or irritated. So yeah, so when you never listen properly, you're not unable to perform in the communication in a proper way. Messages are easily misunderstood. When the person is talking and you tend to you tend not to show your full interest, and then ended up you concluded in some other way. So that's how they say that communication breakdowns and the sender of the message are easily become frustrated. Okay, it is hard to listen when you are talking or when you are thinking of a response. Oh, obviously, that's why we are very well versed with this term, that saying that please keep quiet and listen. So I think even back then in our school also we were very well versed with this kind of method. Okay, I just want you all to look at the second one, when you're thinking of a response. Okay, this is very important actually in communication. When someone is talking to you, you're supposed to listen to them in a very clear utmost manner. Do not, like, when the person is talking, you just stop. You are in terms of listening, but at the same time you have been thinking what you're supposed to reply. Okay, if the person says A, am I supposed to reply B? So that's what they're saying. It's hard to listen when you're thinking of a response, how to reply. Why should we listen? In order to reply, is that the way, is that the correct manner? Why do we should listen? So listening involves to more about all these things. Create a need to listen by thinking about what can learn from the speaker. Yes, this is the most important one. When the person is talking, you are supposed to be, when want to be a good listener, one of the important fact that you are supposed to follow is what you can learn from the listener. Set aside the time to listen so that you won't feel rushed or become distracted by other responsibilities. So say once you're, it's a kind of like very much focused to what the person is saying. Don't do like multitasking when the person is. If you are good at that, if you're able to balance, then should be fine. But then it is advisable to do something at one time. So you do a task at once. So don't prejudge the message based on who is delivering it. Focus instead on the content and the message. So it is more about the message, what the person is trying to. Okay, monitor the way you listen by asking yourself questions such as, did I really pay attention, or I was thinking about what I was going to say next? Was there information I missed before I allow myself to become distracted? So usually that's why, as I told earlier, usually we have this thought that what we are supposed to reply, what we are supposed to tell them, when they're telling you, when they're delivering their message, want to reply. The tendency for you to reply is always higher rather than for you to listen. Okay, we have 2 ears and one mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. Okay, because there is a lot of people out there is like they're like still wondering, is there someone to listen to me? You just need to lend your ears for them. Okay, all right. Listening allows you decode the messages that you're receiving. Also, allow others to communicate better. Listening well allow you to ask the questions that clarify the message. So that's why when you listen, you decode the messages that you receive, which means when you're listening, you try to, okay, you're able to understand, you try to note, you're nodding your head, shaking your head, smiling, and giving a response is a form of body language communication. So you try to decode, okay, what the person is saying, okay, what am I supposed to, okay, all right, I'll take note that that's what they're saying, as you decode the messages. Okay, the next one is listening well allows you to ask the questions that will clarify the message. Okay, when you listen like very clearly, you very much focus on to the person who are talking in front of you. So you will have questions, when you listen very clearly, then you'll have a lot of questions to ask, if you're because you're not it can be any relatable question. Maybe you don't understand what the person is trying to say, or maybe you would like to know further information. So all these questions to be asked, you have to listen very clearly. So that's what they mentioned here. All right. So the most important, most essential tip of communication is, the more you communicate, the more you master them. So actually, there are a lot of different ways of communication. As I told earlier about this body language, your tone plays an important role. So when you're happy, what kind of tone do you use? When you're sad, what kind of, okay. And also sometimes we tend to show our emotion in communication, which is not really very healthy in terms of it to bring a very healthy relationship. What do I mean by the tone is like, when you're too angry, the tone we show them, you kind of shouting at the person, you're trying to show your temper towards that person, so that will break down to the relationship. So pretty much that's about how do we do we communicate in relationship. Why do you think communication is important in a relationship? So that's how we revolve about talking about how does communication is important. So this is a little bit info from my end. How does communication literally help you all in order to enhance your relationship? There is actually a lot more, when you listening, paraphrasing, when you like paraphrase, you listen and then you ask them again. So there is actually pretty much. So but however, these are the basic things in listening, basic needs, what we are supposed to follow in order to enhance our relationship, okay, in terms of communication. So finally, before ending the session, if there is any question, just put it on the chat box. I'll give you all the answers. All right. The most important essential tip of communication is, the more you communicate, the more you master them. Yeah, the more you communicate with someone and try to like get to know them, the more you understand them. So the more you understand them, more easier and smoother for you to communicate with them, which will not leads to a communication breakdown. All right, okay, that's for today. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to fill up the Scoran form. Which is available on the chat box. Thank you, and see you all next session with another topic. All right, thank you. Bye bye.